The disciples asked Jesus, Rabbi, who sinned, his parents or he, that he is born blind? Dearly beloved in Jesus Christ, welcome to the reflections of 4th Lenten Sunday, Year A. Once upon a time, a ship was caught up in a storm, and eventually the entire ship was destroyed, and all the passengers except one man were destroyed in the shipwreck. Next morning, when he came back to his consciousness, he found himself on a desolate island where no one lived. Immediately, the man knelt down, raised his eyes to heaven and prayed, Lord, please send me a help. But he did not receive any help. His prayer went on for days after days. Finally, he thought to himself, this desolate island is my fate. And he started living in the desolate island. He started gathering the things for his survival, and also he made a small hut in the island. Days went on. One day, he lit a little fire in his hut and went in search of the food. He came back. Lo, for his disappointment, his little hut was caught up in the fire, and the hut was completely destroyed in the fire. The heartbroken and devastated man looked angrily at the heavens and he said, God, you see how cruel you are. I asked you for help. You did not send. I started living in this island. Even you allowed my heart to be burnt completely in the fire. That night, he slept off on the seashore. The next day morning, he was awakened by a noise on the seashore. When he got up, he saw a big ship on the shore of the island and a few passengers who came to his rescue. He couldn't believe his eyes. He was surprised. And then, when he entered the ship, he asked the captain of the ship, how could you identify a single man in that great island? And the captain replied, we came to your rescue looking at the fire signal that you sent to us. The man was confused and he said, I never sent you a fire signal. But the captain again replied, we could only reach there only after looking at the fire signal that was seen from the island. Immediately, the man remembered his burning hut. Then he started thanking God because he realized since his hut was put on fire, the fire became a signal for the big ship that came to rescue him. Dearly beloved in Jesus Christ, God has a plan for you. God does not make any mistakes, and whatever God does is does for our good. In today's gospel, we hear the disciples asking a curious question to Jesus. Rabbi, who sinned, he or his parents, that he is born blind? And the answer that Jesus gives is a beautiful one. He is born blind so that the mightiness of God, the glorification of God can be done through him. God does not think as the mortals do, because God's plans are higher than our plans. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. In today's first reading, we hear the narration where David was anointed a king. If you or me were to be in the place of Samuel who anointed David, we would immediately choose a man, stout, tall, handsome man to be king over Israel. But God did not choose any of the sons of Jesse. All the 7 sons of Jesse were brought in front of Samuel, and the Lord rejected all of them and chose the little small but bright and handsome David to be the king of Israel. Even David was not even numbered among those who can be the kings. God chose such kind of a personality to lead his own flock Israel. Therefore, God's plans are higher than our plans. God's thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And God always thinks for good of us. In the book of Prophet Isaiah, chapter 55, verses 8 and 9, we read, God's thoughts are higher than man's thoughts. Just like as there is a difference between heaven and earth, the thoughts of man are different from thoughts of God. Often in our times, in our lives, we blame God for all that happens to us. We say to the Lord, "Why, Lord, me? Why, Lord, you are adding all these pains to me?" But remember, God has a plan for you, a plan for your betterment. Prophet Jeremiah chapter 29 verses 11, we hear, God has only good plans for you, plans for your betterment, not for your destruction. Therefore, dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, from today's first reading, let us try to understand that God has planned for you and for me. And whatever we are experiencing right now, all the difficulties and trials are a part of this plan, which will eventually become a beautiful life for all of us. Secondly, let us meditate on the spiritual blindness in which the entire modern world is caught up. The scenario in which the gospel passage of today is taken is the scenario of the Feast of the Tabernacles. The Feast of the Tabernacles is an annual feast which took place for 8 long days. And all these 8 days, people would take procession from the pool of Shiloam to the temple, where the temple is adorned with lights. Jesus, using the pool of Shiloam and the temple, he proclaims to the world on this occasion that he is the light of the world. He is the light of the world that came to dispel the darkness of the world. Just try to understand the faith journey of the man born blind in today's gospel passage. The man didn't know who Jesus was, but he addresses him leader, then he calls him prophet, finally he calls him the Christ. And this transformation took place because he was open to the truth. Therefore, his spiritual blindness could be removed. But whereas the religious leaders of those days, they were spiritually blind. They were not willing to accept the truth. They were not willing to receive Christ into their lives. That's why they condemned Jesus, saying, "You have broken the Sabbath law," instead of looking at a good deed that was done to the blind man. If and only if you accept that you are spiritually blind, you have weaknesses, you are fallen into sin, only then the grace of God can come into our lives. Therefore, dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, from the 4th Lenten Sunday, year A, let us try to take 2 important lessons for our life. The first one, God has a better plan for you, for your betterment, not for your destruction. Second one, our spiritual blindness can be removed if and only if we accept that we are sinners and go to Christ for aid. Let God bless us all. Have a blessed Sunday.